let's get this going. All right, so we'll call the meeting to order at 7:06 p.m. And if we can all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of
the United States of America and to the republic
for which
it
it
stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Visible, liberty and justice for all.
Bill is on a 30-second delay, just in case he says something ridiculous, so you have to excuse him. He's just finishing up the pledge. All right. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just setting up my screen. Okay. So we'll move on to item number 3, which is public comments. Is there any public comments? Is there any public comments? Okay, hearing no public comment, we'll move on to item number 4, which is discussion and take possible action regarding surveys. Okay, so we did quite well, I think, on the surveys. So I asked Mary and her staff just to put together some quick summary notes, so we would have them just so I can kind of go over. So the methods that were used, they did an email blast. They mailed surveys directly to residents over the age of 60. They used Facebook and other social media. They put the information out on the town website and also on the community center website. So of the surveys that were mailed out to the seniors, which was 2,637, we received back 577 or 22%, which I think we can all agree is pretty good penetration. For the emails, there was 1,839, of which we got 590 surveys back, about 32%. So in total, 4,476 contacts were sent out to request to take the survey. We got 1,167 results, or 26%. So I think for a survey, I think we got a pretty good response to that.
How many families in total do we have, Kurt?
Families?
Yeah.
Oof, that I don't know. What do we have, about 8,000 households? 6,000. My wife just showed 6,000 households from the other room. So
that's a pretty good range we got.
Yeah, now obviously it doesn't take into account how many husbands and wives may have responded, so on. So just some of the talking points, and we're obviously going to go through some of the specifics page by page, but I asked them to pull a few things out. 65% of all surveys wanted a new community center. So that is a pretty good number. 50% of survey respondents were over the age of 60. Again, so I think, sometimes we get blamed for not doing enough for the seniors. So I think we got a good senior response. So their voices will certainly be heard. Of the 577 seniors that responded, 55% of them were in favor of the new community center. And of those that responded, the top 3 items were a fitness center, a pool, and exercise classes. And then as you read through just some of the typed responses, I noticed that a short indoor track or a walking track or a walking of some kind was mentioned a lot. So I just made a little note of that. So if everybody wants to go to the results and go to question number 1. So as mentioned before, 64.52% or 753 people who responded said that they would support a new community center. 15% or 175 were a flat out no. 18 just completely skipped the question. And then there were 221 or about 19% who were unsure. So, even if you look at that breaking 50-50, where 50 would vote yes, 50 would vote no. that puts us well into the low 70s with regards to people who feel that we should move forward with this project. But again, looking at the notes, a lot of people said, yes, I would support that, but they certainly want to see more of a plan, get an idea of the finances and things. So I think we should consider, once we've worked on a plan, that we have something a little bit more definitive, a location, a potential cost, so on and so forth. We should probably consider another survey like this, just to tighten things up a little bit before we finalize everything. So anybody want to make any comment on question 1? No? Okay. All right, question number 2. In hindsight, maybe this is probably not the best question at this point, because I was trying to decipher this information. I'm not really sure what it tells us or what it gives us. So I really didn't do too much with this one, but any questions or thoughts on question 2? No? Okay. All right, question 3. This is, I think, an important question because we kind of kick these things around a little bit. The meetings leading up to the survey, where did people feel the importance lied? And, we asked the survey to kind of identify some of those major areas to get a feel for what people thought was most important. So ranked number 1, obviously, was the indoor pool at 32.48%. People, and if, again, looking at the comments, a lot of people said, hey, we love to swim, but we're not sure we want a pool because we already have a pool at the high school. So it was interesting to see that come out at 32%. Coming in second was a fitness center at 25.18% in the second column, followed very closely by an exercise classes at 22.52% in the second position. But in the first choice section, just scan down to multi-purpose indoor courts, basketball, volleyball, pickleball. That came in second at 21.5%. And looking through the comments, a lot of people brought that up, the need for court space, whether it be basketball, pickleball. They talked about a lot of different things in those comments. So I think kind of our thinking was in line with what the residents are looking for, talking about focusing on, the pool, the fitness center, fitness classes, multi-purpose indoor courts. I'm wondering with the exercise classes, how much of that opinion has changed as society has shifted a little bit during COVID, where they've gone to more of these instructor-led classes because they had to do these things online. So I'm wondering how much that had an impact on the exercise classes and if that is something that would continue. So what's everybody's thoughts on question 3?
I got a quick question on the pool.
Yep.
Different hours as the high school, where the high school is very limited for residents, right?
Yep.
So if we did the pool, it would be more beneficial to residents than the high school, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. With the issue with the pool and the usage at the high school is because of the school. The school board of ed doesn't want obviously non-students or non-faculty in the building during school hours. And then obviously the school itself has programs after school, so they don't want anyone in. Wildcat Swim Club then comes in, so it's very limited use for the high school. Generally, it's at night, 7 to 9, a couple nights a week maybe. A pool at the community center would be available to residents. I don't want to say 24/7 because that's not correct, but essentially whenever it was open.
A lot more than
they would dictate the hours. I think the pool would be in use the entire time the facility was open, but it may be swim lessons at this point and open swim at this point, water aerobics, that type of stuff.
That's all I had on that.
Any other thoughts on question 3?
I think it's everything we spoke about, when for the last 3 meetings, we talked about each one of these issues.
Yeah. Yeah, so this seems to, it's good to see that we're in kind of the right thing. And then some of the other things that we kicked around, a multi-purpose room. I think that was something that we kind of knocked around a lot because of Newtown and the success that Newtown has with it. But that came in, on the lower end, which was interesting. But a few people in the comments, did mention a kitchen. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know, we may have to explore that a little bit more. Were they talking about, the cooking classes and those types of things? Or are they talking something different? Okay. So nothing else on 3? No? All right. All right. How likely would you or your family member be to use one of the following areas? And this was kind of the other things that we had talked about. The senior lounge, the highest was not likely at 37%. Likely was 33%. So I guess that's kind of a toss up. I think this, because the building is going to have a very large component dedicated to a senior center type feel. The senior lounge, I think, is going to be there regardless. The cafe, which I found interesting, was at 46.69%. That people would likely use that. I think that's something that would probably be beneficial if we have a lot of programs going on where families could get snacks or different things like that. The one in Newtown obviously is run through the school system, and I think we talked a little bit about that. They have a group of special needs kids that come in every day. They do the baking, everything else, and then they run the cafe as a little business to help teach these kids some additional skills and things, which is great. So, that's something that's there. Game room at 43.85%. And then everything else was substantially not likely. Babysitting room, indoor playground, before and after school programming, outdoor playground, and a team room. So I found that to be interesting, particularly the before and after school programming with the Boys and Girls Club leaving. There seemed to be a big uproar of people who didn't have any place to bring their children. So I found it interesting that number was so high. I didn't think that would be the case. So any thoughts on question 4? No? All right. All right. Question number 5, the aquatic area. I thought this question was very beneficial because after our visit to Newtown and the pool that they have, when you see their pool, for those of you that had a chance to go there, the pool is quite impressive. And it offers so many different things. So if you haven't seen it, when you're walking on the right-hand side, there's an area for lap swimming. In the middle, there is, or to the left-hand side, I should say, in the middle, they have the zero entry pool, which is really nice. They have the therapy pool, and they kind of have an indoor kind of kiddie pool with some water features, which is really nice. But again, the only 2 things that really jumped off the page were the laps in the open swim and the zero entry in the therapy pool. So, even looking at the comments, there was a lot of people who put in that they'd like to do lap swimming, but I believe just based on the comments that there was a lot of seniors that said they had some interest in that zero entry or the therapy pool to go in. And as one gentleman put, to address the aches and pains of getting old. So those were the 2 largest, most likely. The splash zone, 60% not likely. Outdoor splash pad, 55% not likely. And a kiddie pool, 70% not likely. So that was all interesting.
Since 50%, and actually there were more than 50% of those that responded were over 50 years of age. 50% was over 65. So that could attribute to why, because even some of the responses indicated that they were not likely because they didn't have children or grandchildren.
Yep.
Yeah, I did have the opportunity last week to go to visit Monroe. It's beautiful. Or Newtown, I'm sorry, Newtown. I keep saying Monroe. Newtown, it was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, when you walk into that pool for the first time, you see it kind of spread out. You're like, wow, that's what we'd want.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's
If-
it's one of those things, if you build it, they will come. I think if we put something out, we built something like that, it would get use because people would see it. But we're in a little bit different situation than Newtown. I mean, they had a $10 million kind of head start on their
Exactly.
on their facility, and we're talking about potentially trying to build something that fits in the field at Pine Street. So again, a space may be limited, funds may be limited. So I think we need to focus on kind of what the people are telling us they would like, and then try to add as many of these great amenities as we possibly can. But that's a great point, Suzanne. Just based on the age of the respondents and the numbers, and kind of where that kiddie pool number may come from. That's a really good
Right.
point. Any other thoughts?
You could actually probably combine a pool, a lap pool that has a zero entry as well,
Mhm.
like a handicap access type entry.
Oh, I'm sure.
To the
Yeah,
same-
probably on the side or something. I
Yeah.
mean, Mike, I can see Mike in the background. He's just drawing boxes again all over the place. So I'm sure we'll have something.
We'll figure it out.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have something by the end of this conversation. Mike's fitting it all together like Legos.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of these features we can probably combine, Suzanne, to that point, to make it work. So this is the quietest I've heard Bill Zawicki in my life.
Mhm.
And now he's gone. So, okay, question number 6. When are you most likely to use the community center? And, as expected, the two biggest ones were weekends and evenings, followed very closely by mornings. But I was surprised, almost 42% of the people said that they would use it midday, that 2 to 5 time slot. That was kind of interesting. So, I'm wondering what group that is. Is that, is that late sleeping seniors? It's stay-at-home parents that are trying to, maybe do something quick before the kids get home, or are they hoping that, they can pick the kids up from school and then bring them down to the community center for activities? That was kind of an interesting one.
What
So,
this survey does tell us, though, it would get a lot of use all day long.
yeah, it would. And there would even be some of the crazies that would get up at 5 a.m. and go before work. So, which is good, because then, there'd be a reason to open it up early. And I know that the community center tried to do a master swim program. And of course, it really didn't take off because of the limited use, but I think they had a pretty good crowd that showed up first thing in the morning. I believe they started at 5 or 6 a.m. And they had, 10, 12 people that came. So something that was a little bit more dedicated, something easier to use, maybe worthwhile. All right. And then question 7, how many days a week would you use the community center? 3 to 4 days a week was, just about 49%. 5 plus was only 11%, but I think the 3 to 4 days a week is probably the sweet spot for most people, with so many things that families have going on these days with activities and stuff on the weekends. It was, again, good to see that. The one thing I wonder is, how much use this would get on the weekends. Would it be much stronger than during the week? Is this a thing that families would use during the week and then would do other things in the weekends? I think that's something we'd have to explore when we get to the part of kind of building the programming and the staffing and things like that. Any thoughts on any of that? No?
I think the big thing in the thread that ran through the comments
Yep.
was nobody wants to pay taxes, and we understand that. So I think on a go forward, once we get some kind of, I don't know, seat of the pants or better estimate on the cost of this thing,
Yep.
irrespective of if it doesn't touch the debt service, it does touch the debt service, whatever it is. I think ahead of that, we've got to be able to go and say that, maybe we talk to the State Bonding Commission, maybe we talk to the Matthews Foundation, maybe we talk to the Valley Community Foundation, anywhere that we can go to try to get something to offset anything we can.
Mhm.
And I mean, obviously, with a lot of the Fed money flowing into all the states, the bonding commission is probably the biggest resource to be able to get the biggest hit of cash.
Oh,
And I
great.
think the town the town needs to start making inquiries as to, is it viable for whomever they're inquiring of? What does it look like? Any grants, things like that. And I think the dollars take a little while to put together, as I think everybody knows here.
Right.
And I think we've got to have as best a handle on projected money, because to your point, Kurt, if we go to another survey and we talk about money or whatever, we want to be able to say, look, I'm making up numbers. Look, this is a $12 million project, but we know we've got state bonding commission money we can get of X. We know there's grant A, grant B, whatever it is, any other federal education program, who knows?
Right.
Or federal senior grants from HHS. But I think we've got to have some kind of tangible best estimate list of projected financing for this thing, because
Bill,
everybody knows, reading these comments, and it's a foregone conclusion
yeah, Bill, what you got to do is the
about
process.
taxes, and everybody's worried about it, and I don't blame them.
The process has got to be that you got to do a building program and a cost estimate, and then an operational program and a budget for that, so we can at least tell the taxpayers what to expect.
No, understood. And I'm looking from the flip side of it, that, here's the construction, here's the operational, but we have also looked to this program, that program, whatever, and get as much information as to the feasibility of getting outside money. So if we said to the taxpayers, well, it's only going to cost us, 5 million out of 12, or so, whatever it is,
Right.
that I think is a bullet we want to have in our gun as best as we can.
Yeah, I mean, it's the school building mentality. It's a $30 million school.
Yeah, exactly.
We're really
Yeah.
only paying 9 million for it. Yeah, that type of thing. Yep, I agree. And I think there are a lot of potential opportunities.
That's exactly
out
right.
there. With the American CARES funds coming in, I don't know how those are going to be fully dictated, how those are going to be paid out. And again, the debt service is designed, as we've talked about before, to allow us to slowly feather this project in over time, to absorb the interest, principal and interest payments if we had to borrow, to try to keep us as budget neutral as
No,
possible.
understood.
But the cheaper we can make it, 100%, yeah.
And
well,
maybe even
we could either make it
of
bigger
course.
if we're getting more money in, or we can keep it as it would be and just have even less of an impact to the residents. So.
Oh, that's right. I mean, even a reach to DeLauro's office or Murphy or Blumenthal or whomever for ideas. Why not?
Yeah, because that was, no increase to taxes was kind of a common theme in the additional comment suggestions page.
Yes, it was.
A lot of people brought that up, or I think too, and I think that those are fair comments. People still have some hesitation because, right now we're just talking very generically with no real specifics. So I think if we, once we get to the point of, Mike is no longer just drawing boxes, he's actually making pretty pictures, with specific things inside, and we're now starting to attach costs. I think you may see even some of the no votes, may switch to yes votes. And at the same time, we may see some of the yes votes, now that they realize how much it could cost, may switch to the no. So.
When do we have any of these school building construction projects coming offline?
I haven't looked off the top of my head. I don't remember. I haven't looked at the debt service in a few months. But for the next meeting, we can do a little projection as to how the stuff is gonna fall off. But it's, you know, we had the little roll and then now it's a steady,
Right.
kind of dragged out decline. And, you know, the thing we had talked about with starting next year, so for fiscal year 23, is keeping the principal and interest payments, the debt service lines level. So as things are falling off, instead of reducing the mill rate, at that point, we go back to, you know, we had the old mill rate stabilization fund as an example. You know, you start putting 50 or 60,000 in, then it kicks up to 100,000, then it kicks up to 120 as these things are falling off. But when we go on with the community center, those are now offsetting those principal and interest payments. So again, we're kind of shrinking that actual cost to the residents. So I'm sure people can argue over the next, you know, 2 or 3 years, well, that's tax relief we could have received then, but you know, I think we can all agree 60,000 in a $59 million budget is really not all that much. So, so again, I think we can get very creative with how we fund this. I think we have enough people on this board that have experience with, you know, financing these projects and looking for different revenue sources beside. And, you know, I'm sure Emery will be happy to go hat in hand and beg to all these different places for additional funds. If not, Nasteri can just, you know, probably pull it out of his wallet and cover it.
Brian will cover it.
Yeah, Brian's got that kind of money lying around in his desk drawer.
That's not constructive.
It's not constructive. So, so this is the survey. So what did everybody think? What are your thoughts on the survey? Did it kind of give you what you thought? Is there more questions that you have? Did it change opinions? I mean, what's everybody's thoughts?
I think it reaffirmed
I think it-
going forward.
I think it was a good survey. I'm not surprised that the majority said they wanted it or they were in favor of it, but it comes down to the money.
Right.
That's what you got. That's what you have to worry about.
Yeah, and especially the first the first page of answers. I think we
Yeah.
need to educate the community a little bit more, or like have either a community forum conversation or stakeholders meeting to inform them more specifically, because there's a lot of questions and people are kind of assuming different things. And then the impact with the Boys and Girls Club, that was mentioned many times. And maybe that 2 to 6 time frame, maybe that's what people were talking about, the people that need the childcare.
Yep.
And you know, we really haven't discerned whether or not the Boys and Girls Club will be a part of it or not. But looking at the breakdown, and that's where Newtown made a lot of money, because they actually they're doing several after school programs
Right.
themselves.
Brian?
And then the other,
You're waving, sorry.
that's okay. One other thought, the other thought is everybody wants it to be affordable. You know, they probably want it for free. And that's where it can be challenging, because I think if I'm correct, Matt said that Newtown actually had $100,000, or they had a surplus at the end of the year, primarily because of the pool.
Right.
The income they were able to generate for the pool. And they have a lot of out of town residents that pay, you know, some people in Shelton, Southbury, even New York State, that come in with memberships, and they pay a higher rate, and they just went up, I think, 15-20% on their out of town residents. But they haven't yet even been open for a full year because of COVID. So they still have a long way to go to, you know, believe it's established. They haven't gotten to the numbers that they were before they started, when they first started, just prior to COVID.
Right.
Kurt and Anne Marie, who handles our grant writing and researching grant opportunities for the town?
Steve Wood.
Steve Caruso.
But you know, this,
However, I heard Stephen did pretty well on writing some grants while she was away.
Yeah, and we can also look to bring in, depending on how big we want to go with grants and things, it might be worthwhile to even hire somebody from the outside that has some experience. I'm not saying Lisa Lowe, but a Lisa Lowe type who did all the small cities stuff for us. So, I mean, I think we can have that taken care of without any problems.
About naming rights.
Listen, the Bill's Wiki Community Center. All kidding aside, one of the reasons why I thought, down in the Haynes area, behind Stop and Shop would be good because, if depending on the type of deal that was presented to us and things like that, that it could certainly be the Haynes, Community Center, just as an example. So I wouldn't have any problem with that. Why, Mike, you thinking of slapping the company logo on the side of the building?
Whatever can defray costs. Why not?
No, I was thinking more of our boy up at the industrial park.
Yeah, he may. He may. So, I mean, or even a Thule. Thule might have interest with, being a sports team and then, kind of the company thing that they're into. So, yeah, certainly not a bad idea. Or again, the Stereo could just write a check and can be the B&B Community Center. So, it's just another building in your portfolio, Brian.
That's the simplest way.
Yeah. The Nesteriak Real Estate Investment Trust.
Not responding.
Yeah. Yeah, you wish you didn't log in at this point, didn't you?
Pretty much. Should have gone to ZBA.
Yeah. Well, I haven't talked to you in a little bit, so I want to get my money's worth while I have you.
Did it. Good to see you, Kurt.
You too, pal. So actually, Suzanne brought up a very good point. I think talking about stakeholder meetings, forums, things like that. So do we think it makes sense to start to plan some of those to gather in more information, or does it make more sense to spend a meeting or two and maybe come up with a little bit more specific thoughts as to location and amenities? What's everybody think?
I think at this point, you've got to start to
I think
really dive
You
into
want to
what
have
the building is going to
a
be.
handle on where
Bill's on a
and
delay.
amenities.
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay.
No,
Go ahead, Bill.
No, I was just saying that I would think we want some more specifics as to size and what's in there.
What it's going to look like. Yeah. People are going to be asking that question.
As to what's in there.
Where it is.
All right, so when we kind of last talked about this, we had something that, again, Mike made some quick sketches and some diagrams. We had something that we thought could fit in the field at the community center, the current location, with the ability to potentially use maybe some of the existing structure, the gym or something like that. And then we also had some thoughts about being down behind Stop and Shop. Maybe, having a little bit more space down there, we can do something a little bit different. So where's everybody's thoughts on that? Do we want to focus on the existing site, or do we want to focus on something bigger someplace else?
Both?
I'm sure we could do both.
Because it's two totally different scenarios.
Right.
The way I look at it.
Well, it's actually probably 3 or 4 different scenarios in reality. And I started thinking about this. You renovate the existing facility, add a new pool and gym. That's one cost. You build a totally new facility, tear down the other. That's a new cost, different cost. you build the property, you build the facility on Haynes' property, but you got to buy the land,
In your crates,
you got to bond it,
in your crates.
or you build the building and let Haynes build lease it back to the city. And then you buy it, 20 years from now.
Right.
So you got 4 options. And then you still have potentially maybe the Tri-Town Plaza site if you really wanted to negotiate with your friend up there, Ron.
Negotiations would have to drastically improve with the numbers.
Yes.
Yeah. Because that required acquiring those 2 parcels in the back, and
Not necessarily, because he's got property up there. What's he gonna do with?
I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, that last conversation centered around acquiring those 2 parcels. So I don't know.
Would he give the town a land lease? Or let the town build on it? I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, does he have control of everything now?
I don't know. He's coming into town in June.
Okay. Well, yeah, if he has control of the land and the buildings, man, I don't see why we couldn't drop a community center right where the knockdown building was,
Right.
and do a ground lease there or something. Yeah, that would just strengthen the plaza for him.
Right.
So, I don't know. So is anyone leaning in any one particular direction?
I always like to see us reuse what we have, although I'm not totally clear on the requirements of Pine Street and getting those up to code or anything. I know it's been addressed that it's just far too expensive to modify that building, but I do like to see, we're going to save at least on the land cost.
Right.
But even tearing the thing down, I would imagine even the abatement and the demolition would be cheaper than purchasing, but maybe not.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion that the building may be old, but it's still a very viable building. It's still an asset that's worth some money, and I think you get more program for your buck, because now you put the addition on of the pool and the gym, and now I've got maybe a 50,000 square foot building for less cost. You're going to build less building for a new. You're going to get less building for more money in a new building.
Anybody else have thoughts?
I mean,
Do
I
we have-
definitely like the location. The location.
Taxpayers might also be agreeable to it.
Zach, hold on, Bill's on a delay, so. So Bill, you go, then Zach, then Chris.
I don't know why. All right. I would think you might get a better feel. The taxpayers might like it better if we had an existing building that we were going to, let's say, fix up, than building something brand spanking new that may be more acceptable to them. Again, depending on the money.
Correct. Well, Chris or Zach, and then Chris.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, I definitely like the location we're at right now. The building we're in right now, though, I mean, when we say like fix up, it's a significant amount of work, like lots and lots of money. But if we can get what we want in the community center in that lot, I mean, I think that location itself, the center location in town, I think it's a great location.
Chris?
Yeah, I was gonna exactly say what Zach just said. I think building on the field part, if it's possible, is viable. I think that 100-year-old building just beyond repair at this time. It's so far gone that it's gonna cost more to redo it and get it up to code than it is to build a new one with the abatement and everything else.
So Mike, with kind of that being said, and looking at the field at the
Yep.
community center, Pine Street, I mean, could we do something as simple as, and again, I'm just throwing this out there initially, but Butler buildings, field house type
You could.
boxes?
You can build that type of building. They are not as sustainable in the long run. I mean, they'll give you 30 years, but they're not going to give you 50 years.
Right.
And you can also make them look, change the look of them. They don't have to be, cheap looking. You can change the facades on them. You can do a lot of things.
Right. If we keep the existing building in the gym and then we expand on the, let's say, another gym and a pool, something along those lines, are we gonna have parking concerns down there?
You could, but that means you're not going to be able to use those fields for anything other, maybe a splash pad outside. But going around the where the field is, where the skate park is, that probably has to come down. Skate park's probably got to move, and then you got to reorganize it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, I figured that field's gonna get used for the pool and whatever else we're doing, and the rest is all parking, because
Right.
I don't think there's enough parking for what they have now. Does anybody have an opinion on that?
No, parking is tight now. You're right. It is tight right now, what we have.
With that being said, Newtown doesn't have a field,
No.
but they do
No,
have that private facility up the road.
Mhm.
Yeah, right up the street. Yeah, the sports academy.
I don't know if a field would be nice. I just don't know if it's all that necessary.
We have
Yeah,
a
we-
lot of fields in town.
A lot of fields.
The
We have
field,
a lot of fields in town.
the field idea was pushed by the community center, with the hopes of having summer camp right there at the facility and having some outdoor space, to get the kids outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, we could eliminate the school and just be able to hold camp there. That was the thought process.
Yeah, so then, you have the pool there, you have the courts, you have kind of all the amenities that come along with that. But yeah, other than that no one's really brought up the field idea or pushed the field issue, I should say. So I think if we built something that did not have outside field space or outside access, I think we'd probably be okay.
Hey, Kurt, the community center as it sits, I may be off with this, but if we were to knock it down, is there anything historical that would step in and say we can't? Being what it was?
Because of the age of the building, we probably have to have, what's that state organization come in?
SHPO.
SHPO, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think it's on the historic records. And as
No.
long as they could just say they want it photographed and documented, and then you can still take it down.
Right.
Okay.
This is just my off the cuff opinion, but even if we were to completely gut that building and replace what's in there and do whatever we want in there, I still feel that would be cheaper and more sustainable than finding a piece of land, building something that nowadays is not going to last 100 or 200 years. I mean, this thing's already 100 years old, and I think it's still structurally sound as far as I know. Probably needs a new roof and all that other stuff, but it just seems more appealing to me to save what we have, even if we have to just completely start with a clean slate on the inside.
I mean, is that able to
I
be
would-
done? Because of the way it's set up now, with just the rooms, the old classroom thing. I mean, are we able to kind of gut those insides?
But we have to look at whether those are bearing walls or not. I mean, if they're bearing walls, we'll have to look at it. You can always penetrate bearing walls, but we'd have to take a quick analysis of that to take a look at that.
I mean, the third floor is sort of gutted.
Yeah.
It's worth going up and looking at. And I assume the third floor is similar to at least the second and first. I don't know about the basement though.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, the third floor, like I said, is kind of gutted, but that building, I'm telling you, I don't know if you've been in there recently, it's shot. The building's shot.
But I'm talking about gutting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
How
going.
expensive is that though? I don't even know. Is that very expensive to do to
It's still
gut?
cheaper than
Sure.
building a new building.
It's
Cheaper than
very
building a new building?
I assume there's lead paint and there's asbestos in there. Does anybody know?
There is. Well,
Just-
they have the asbestos management plan, so they have testing to see if there's lead paint. We found the testing for lead paint. We found the testing for asbestos. There's no asbestos on the third floor. The test came back negative in the on the floor. panels. But the thing is, I understand it's going to be cheaper to keep it in that building, and that's where it's always been. So from a historical standpoint, that's great, and it's going to be less money. But the thing we're going to run into, which I haven't heard brought up, is what will we do with the programs that are currently being ran in there now while we're gutting the community center? Where is the senior center going to go? Where are the rec activities going to be done while that's being done? Because it's not going to be done in 3 months. It's not going to be done in 6 months. So you just guys have to have a backup plan as to where those activities will be done.
Those be
We
moved to say the
probably have to rely on the schools and.
library.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
this
It would be
Mary
a pain.
McNellis. I
Yeah.
joined the call, you guys. It's Mary McNellis. You're right, Anne Marie. You're absolutely right. We'd have to probably look at either utilizing what we have or leasing some space or going up to the land trust, the library. You know, we'd have to look at some other places to do things, but we have thought about the land trust in the bottom of the library. I'm not sure that would give us enough space, but we're talking an extended period of time. So we might have to lease something.
It's also about phasing. You got to understand how you do a building like this. You're going to phase it. You're going to put the addition on of the pool and the new gym. Then you're going to probably shift some stuff into the old gym while you're doing renovation work. And you're going to keep flipping programs around. It's a little bit more cumbersome, but phasing is always the way you handle these situations.
I understand that, but I want to make sure everybody's thinking about that part.
Oh, yeah, the consultants would do that. Yeah. I mean, what's the timeline for something like that versus, I mean, a gutting versus just a new building?
The way it's situated now, the new building would probably go faster.
But I mean, a gutting, are we talking something that would take 2 years?
No, it'd probably take 18 months. Maybe
What'd you think? What'd you say, Mike?
about 18 months.
Yeah, I was thinking 12 to 18. Yeah.
I had a question probably for Mike or Brian, being in your background. If we gut it, make sure it's structurally sound, would it last another 50 years as far as the brick and the structural sound of the outside or whatever?
We certainly have to look at that.
Side will be new, but the
Yeah,
outside.
you
100
got to
years.
evaluate it. Yes, it's a quick evaluation.
No one's really looked at it that close. I mean, I've been through there a handful of times, and structurally, I never looked at it structurally, but I never saw anything that didn't look structurally sound. I mean, it's all brick and concrete. So it just seemed like it was a stable building, but it would need some more analysis to determine that.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would rather put our money into a refurbishment rather than a pre-engineered building.
Does the roof leak at all? Does anybody know?
Yes, it does in certain places.
Yeah,
It does in certain places, yes.
Yeah, that could lead
Absolutely.
that could be
Yeah.
creating bigger problems. But
Yeah, you'll probably
They've
got some
done
mold
some-
buildup somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're gonna remediate that. That doesn't take long to remediate.
Do we have any idea what we think the market value of the building and land might be?
Well, I think you can look at Maple Street. And what did Maple Street School go for? 250?
No, it's once it was like 318, something that number seems to stick out.
I don't think it would be that much. Especially if you have asbestos and lead in there.
Do you think the field adds additional value because they can put potentially more units in there? I mean, obviously Maple Street was bigger than the community center, but
They could probably use the field for parking.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna need a lot more parking, so it's an offset. Now everybody's putting parking under the buildings now.
no,
But
understood.
I wouldn't expect you're gonna get a lot of money for that place.
No, it's gonna need a lot of work for someone like that. Developer come in, they're not gonna want to pay you.
They're either knocking it down
And rebuilding.
Or you're not getting, I mean, the building's worth nothing, but when you put the abatement and the remediation in there, so it's just the land, and what's the land worth? Is it in the flood zone?
Yes,
I should look at that. Yeah,
I think it
It's in
is.
the Flood zone.
Maybe we should check with the town engineer.
I'll call him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, can you call him tomorrow, please?
You got it.
Thanks.
He
My
goes
big- my
early.
biggest con-
Hold on, I'm texting
My
Beth
big-
right now, Brian. Give me a second.
My biggest concern, everybody, is I love the location of where it is. Parking, if we build on to what we have and we put a gymnasium and a pool, we already don't have enough parking. Where are we grabbing the other parking from? I love the location. I'm just really concerned about the parking.
I think that whole field.
That
Is
site,
building
the
a
site
park.
allows itself. If you go back to one of our earlier meetings, Brian, I just want to interrupt for a second.
Right.
The field itself, I think was, if I'm not mistaken, 40,000 square feet, maybe 50. And the addition would only encompass about 13,000 for the pool and the gym. So you still have quite a bit of land there that's going to go around it all the way down to the other street there. You probably could even think about how you make that the road that connects.
Oh, you're actually down to Pine Street.
Right.
Yeah.
So doing the site work would change all, what, I think because you're not parking on the field right now, that's why it gets tight.
Could we go up?
Got it.
Could we go up more?
On the existing building, probably not.
What
Go
about,
back to the flood zone. We're in the 500 year. We're not in the 100 year.
Okay.
So that's good.
You checked with our engineer?
I just heard from him.
how about in the current gym space? Is there any possibility of going up there?
You'd have to, if you had the drawings, we could check. More than likely, I would say no, because those walls probably can't bear the weight of that. They weren't designed to go up above. I'd be very concerned about what kind of footings and foundation you got in place on that gym.
That gym's a steel structure, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So is it possible, I'm just trying to think this through myself, but, so we take the existing building and we gut it. Could we put the pool where the gym is? And then off of the pool, now put up a large, we'll call it a field house type building. Where it goes straight from third base out to right field. That has courts and a track and a fitness center and everything inside. And then the whole, so we'll say from shortstop out through the skate park out to the tree line is all parking. Does that work?
yeah. What I did back in one of those earlier meetings when I sent out the fields that showed you the configuration. If you went perpendicular to the existing field house gym,
Yeah.
you could put in actually a pool and a gym going out the distance of one of those facilities, and then you take that gym and you turn the gym into a fitness center and locker rooms for both facilities.
Okay.
All right. And then you work the rest of that building for all your other programs, whether it's senior center or functions for the community, for the kids, whatever. And you got to work on the egress issues relative to younger kids, older people, things like that. So we'd have to look at all of those issues. But that gives you your maximization of your building. You probably pick up, you can do this building, it's going to be about 50,000 square feet instead of 40 for less money.
Right. Okay. So does this seem to be the consensus of the group, that the first look should at least initially be Pine Street?
What does that mean? Like, what do we do? Or what are our options, if that is?
Well, I think we try to put something together, and maybe Mike can just do some, a little bit more specific sketches or something. And try to put some type of pricing to that, to have at least initial discussion in our next meeting.
Yeah, we'd have to do some also evaluation of the building. We'd probably have to come up there and walk the building. Maybe Brian, you and I walk that building,
Yeah.
and take a look at, where all the constraints are.
Can you get up on the roof?
Yeah.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Mike, if, I'd love to go up there. And,
All right.
Honors will walk it with you.
great.
I
Worst
love how I
case-
volunteer.
Worst case, Chris will get the ladder truck and put you up there, right, Chris?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Meet you down there in what, an hour?
So I mean, is that something that's doable for our next meeting? So now we have maybe just like a basic design, Mike, kind of what we've talked about here, where we can see if the parking makes sense, get an idea on.
We could do a site plan and then do some, on the site plan, you put the buildings and what elements are gonna be on there without elevations. I mean, to do elevations, and do a rendering, it's a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not talking about that.
Glad anyway. So-
You're just talking about trying to see what programs and then taking the building and actually, you can actually test fit the building by the programs.
Right. And then see if this is giving us kind of what we want.
It sounds like a plan.
Yeah, then we can maybe take the next step of if we were to build something brand new someplace else, encompassing all of these elements, what would it look like? What would the price be? That type of stuff. And then we can at least have two things side by side to kind of talk about and figure out which direction. And then we can go to kind of Suzanne's point, where maybe then we could have, some informational meetings or something and see what people think.
We can also do a site plan on the field to see what buildings, how much building we can put on the field. And then take the old building down if we had to, and how much parking we can create.
Is the house
Big
still
this
for sale?
thing is? Sorry.
What house?
That
The
house.
house right by the gym.
That
That,
house sold.
I thought that was
Sold?
not, that was taken off the market.
Okay.
Yeah,
think
so there's people living there.
Anybody know how big this building is?
Yeah, I had it one time. Hold on. I thought the building itself was 30. It's almost 40-some thousand square feet.
Is that including the gym?
Yes,
It's a big building. I mean, were we?
big building. It's 3 stories.
We planning on building a building that big from scratch?
Not
You
like
have to
that.
build at least that much.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
But in this case, you're gonna put a gym on and a pool that's gonna add another, probably 10,000, 12,000 square feet.
Mm.
So you're gonna have about 60,000 square feet of building. You're gonna get a lot of program. out of
Yeah,
this
it's a
building.
big building.
Sounds great to me.
All right, so is that, Mike, is all that doable for you and Brian in a month?
Yeah, I think we could be.
We'll figure it out. Mike, you and I want to maybe talk tomorrow or early
Yeah.
next week. Figure something
Yep,
out.
no problem.
We'll get Tim on the horn and whoever else wants to be
Yeah,
involved.
tomorrow I got a tight schedule, but next week I'm okay. So
Okay.
maybe Monday.
Monday, well, we'll talk.
Okay.
All right, any other thoughts or comments? Anything anybody wants to add?
Just a quick question, going back to the sites, you mentioned something about Haynes behind Stop and Shop.
Mhm.
Is Tommy still thinking about cutting that road into Beacon Falls? So that essentially wouldn't be a dead end road anymore, or is that,
My last conversation with him was, he wanted to essentially do quarry walk behind Stop and Shop and
Oh,
connect 67 to 42, that would be kind of his last project before retirement. Then he would turn everything over to, to the kids, and that would be it. So
He said that to me too. And you can see how long not Quarry Walk. The current Seymour Quarry is going. I mean, you're talking 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's gonna take some
At
time.
least.
Yeah, at least.
So I don't.
There's
think
220
so.
acres back there that he owns.
Right.
What was that?
He owns 220 acres.
Yeah. It's a beautiful piece of property. It needs a lot of quarrying though.
Yeah, what do we figure? It's twice the size of Quarry Walk?
Yeah, if not more.
It'd be nice if he developed that.
Yeah, so we'll
The
see.
grandkids are gonna love it.
Yeah, that's right. Patrick's gonna be a busy boy.
Yeah.
Putting that all together. So, all right, so anything else? All right, so if not, then, we'll meet again for June, regularly scheduled meeting. Mike and Brian will work on kind of giving us some more preliminary stuff to talk about, giving maybe some visuals, attaching some ballpark prices to things. And then we can have some further discussion. If we want to at that point consider a brand new building and, be able to put them side by side, we can look at that for the next meeting and kind of do this. We're in no rush to move this forward. I think the more information we put out to the residents, the more thought we put into this, the better off it's going to go. So I think if we take some time and, maybe target, I don't know, the fall, that's something we can talk more about, to have maybe some of these informational meetings or something with the residents. That might be good, but we can kind of see what's what. So
Are we meeting in person in June?
I believe that we can now meet in person. So if everybody's comfortable with that, we'll have to find a location where to meet. And yeah, we can do that. Is there anyone that is here that has a problem with meeting in person?
I don't have a problem with it, but Zoom is really nice.
It is nice.
Yeah,
It
but
is nice, but as of May 19th, Zoom meetings are not allowed unless he extends his executive orders.
Well, there you go.
my only comment is, Brian, same way, we can get the big, draft boards up and bigger rendering pieces up so everybody can see it. We can walk through the
So
presentation.
easier on Zoom. It's so much easier on Zoom with that. Yeah.
I like the in-person meetings.
Oh, you think you like him in person? Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
bet, yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, it's harder to send the message out to bring that message out.
Well, if they're not allowed anymore, then that's our decision. When is the meeting? It's June 3rd, right? First Thursday?
First Thursday.
Okay.
Unless he extends his executive order. If he extends the executive order, then we'll continue Zooms. But unless he can, and once, as of May 19th, if he says his executive orders have ended because we're no longer in a state of emergency, then we're in person.
Okay.
Yeah, because Connecticut does not lead the way with anything.
No.
So, I mean, don't forget, we do have the large screen. So we can get that going, Mike. So if you want to have stuff, renderings, we can just throw it right up on the big screen.
The only problem with that, and I kept meaning to ask Chris, they couldn't get PDFs up on it last time because they didn't have a reader.
Do you have Rory there?
Rory was not there.
Did they bring their own computer?
They brought their own computer, but they didn't have the right cable. So then they tried a flash drive, and then when they put the flash drive in, there was no software on the smart screen.
So I'll have to make sure I bring my right cable, HDMI cable, or I'll take a look. I'll swing by.
Yeah, bring an HDMI cable. I think that'll take care of it. But.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Mike, if you have stuff like that, just get hooked up with the office, and
Yeah.
the worst case, Rob will just rig up whatever needs to get rigged up for you.
Mhm.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
So, all right. So any other thoughts, comments, any old business? No?
Good.
So it's item 5 and 6, I just kind of combined there into one little lump. So item 7, public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Make a comment? Okay. Hearing no comment, then we will adjourn the meeting at 8:12 p.m. And we'll see everybody on June the 3rd. If you have any questions or comments, route those through Anne Marie's office, and we'll make sure that those get out to everybody on the board.
Great.
And Mike, if you and Brian need anything, obviously just let us know.
Will do.
All right.
Yeah, we'll need access to the roof and stuff like that.
Does anybody else want to be part of our walkthrough? I mean, should we just email everybody? And whoever wants to show up, or should we just do it on our own?
I'll be there. I could tour you.
Yeah, and let Tim Connors know. As
Yeah,
long as you let Mary and Zach know when you're going down, I would appreciate it. And then Tim Connors, so Tim Connors can get you onto the roof and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might be available to attend too, just to,
Yeah, just shoot out the date.
Yeah, put it out and
Can't wear high heels.
oh, no, thanks. I don't wear high heels.
all right. So yeah, so when you guys set that time, send it out to everybody, and if people want to come, they can come, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Have
you.
a great night, everybody.
Good
Right,
night. Take care.
Thanks.